on both. Should be live on the podcast, should be live on Facebook over here, should be live on YouTube.
Already?
Over there.
That was quick. That was quicker than usual.
Yeah, only took me 3 days. Right.
Hello everybody, welcome to Practical Parenting. We haven't seen you for quite a while.
Yes.
We had a lot of work.
Wait! I gotta check that the live streams are going out. So,
well, I can still talk, can't I?
So
can I talk?
Sorry?
Can I talk?
Yes, please do talk. Good.
Yes, we haven't seen you for quite a while, and that's because we have been awfully busy.
Okay.
Well, I can still talk.
Okay, we're live on Facebook. That's us on Facebook, so I'm checking that that's okay. Yes. Yes, you can talk.
Yes, we have been very busy, right. And check the YouTube, please. And then the kids got ill, and they kind of, first Will was down the whole day, and then Jasmine, and then Zora, and they just went like one by one, they just fell ill, and it was just the full deal, fever and headache and throwing up and everything that comes with it.
Facebook refuses to give me a link. It refuses to scroll down. Yeah, it does. It refuses to scroll down, so I cannot check
refuse to scroll down.
YouTube. I cannot check the YouTube. Do just as we were preparing, did you see the Facebook change pages all by itself when no one was touching it?
We have ghosts in here. They change our Facebooks and settings of things, and
I swear I did not touch it, and neither of us touched it, and it changed pages all by itself. Right, that's freaky.
No,
the link should be there, and it's not. I've got to do. Just keep talking, because I got to do.
I'm falling.
Don't fall over.
Sorry.
I got to go over here.
I told you I'm not balanced today.
I have to go up to. I have to go to my YouTube stream and copy and paste a link onto the Facebook page, which is not open in this computer. So thank you very much for sharing the fact that Mommy cooked a wonderful lunch.
You're welcome, Will. You can sit down.
I'm stuffed probably means thank you very much, right?
Yes, it does.
Right.
You just have to learn how to read his love language.
Okay, paste as plain text.
Yeah. Anyway,
We'll try not to jump up and down on the floor.
So we were quiet. We had our hands full. It was, how it is when kids are ill. You just have these constant requirements, like mommy move my sofa, mommy move my blanket, and move my duvet, and move my leg because I can't lift it.
Move my arm for me.
Yeah, please. Exactly. Exactly. Actually, they did really say that. Zora was like, I can't move, mommy. Can you please move me? My head is too heavy.
Please move for me. I can't bear to.
Exactly.
Yes.
So.
Okay, now Facebook refuses to update with the links. So Facebook is now sabotaging my attempt to check whether the YouTube stream is working or not. That's what I have to do. I've been dealing with this stuff for 3 days now. So,
right.
So I prepare everything, I organize everything, I set up everything, and everything is 100% ready to go. And then it's like somebody at the other end of the universe sneezes, and
everything just goes haywire.
As a result, everything goes. Hey, look at this. Everything was perfect. Everything's worked fine all morning.
Nice picture. I like that picture. Is that your Facebook profile?
That's my Facebook profile.
It's a nice picture.
That's a picture. You know what is it?
Is that the old bridge?
It's the old Spey Viaduct Bridge. That's what it is.
That's not the moon, though, is it? That looked like a moon.
It's not the moon.
It's that little circle, loading when things are loading, and it looked like it belonged to the picture. Actually.
Well, can you believe this? Right? Can you believe that I spent all this time setting this up? There's one thing I have to check, one single thing in the entire universe I have to check, which is a link on my Facebook page, and it won't give me the link. First of all, it removed it when I first posted.
Can you just click on it?
Second of all, it started opening pages all by itself.
Can you just click on that video?
Click on what?
That video.
There's no video there. I don't know what you're talking about.
Is that not?
No, could you stop making noises like a snake or a rabbit or whatever you're doing, crawling along the ground there on the floor? Because it's You see, you saw me post it up there, right? I copied the link out of the YouTube page. I went to the Facebook page. I copied it onto the Facebook page, and it says on the tablet that the link is not even there.
Stop panicking.
The link is not even there.
What are we going to do? Are we going to proceed without checking it on YouTube, or are you going to fiddle with it while I talk about something interesting?
I
have these two options, because
I don't know, because
probably don't want to hear about.
I know they don't want to hear about all the technical stuff, all going horribly wrong.
Yes.
But the point is, somebody has to check the technical stuff.
Good, do it.
So I spent an hour setting all this up, and now Facebook is sabotaging the whole thing. So I'm now going to turn off and turn on Facebook on the tablet and see if that creates an option for me. I can't do this and talk about parenting at the same time. So filibuster.
Filibuster. I'm going to filibuster. Will is very, very slowly trying to get his tablet there without making any sounds. And now he realized that Zora's tablet that he was trying to get, and he's wondering, where is my tablet? He's looking very
Facebook
confused.
won't even open now.
Of course
this hasn't happened this never happened before. And when I go live, it happens. Look, I've never ever seen this page before. It's not even a page.
Don't you know that the universe is against you? Haven't you learned that yet?
Right. I'm going to find another way to do this. There's always another way.
Of course there's always another way. Where there's a will, there's a lot of chaos.
Where there's will, there's always another way to make as much noise as humanly possible.
Well, there's will, there's dancing and whistling and a lot of fun and a lot of sword fighting.
Right.
Yes.
Right, I'm going through the second mobile system.
Yes, because he has two systems, but I'll tell you what.
Okay, YouTube.
Is that YouTube?
Okay, that's it. That's working.
Okay,
did it done.
Super cool.
I double-checked.
I thought that was not going to work either.
Facebook is run by monkeys.
Or maybe your tablet has
what is he doing in the background? Well, you know the rule that when we're live, you're not allowed to jump around, you're not allowed to wave your arms, you're not allowed to be your usual monkey self, okay?
I'm trying to search for my tablet.
Where is your tablet?
Well, if he knew that, he wouldn't have to be searching for it, would he?
Well, if you were organized, you would always put it in the same place when you finish with it, and you wouldn't have to walk around looking for it, would you? I have to say the same thing every single
time when
you finished with it, you plug it in on the charger, you know where it is. When you're finished with it, you plug it in on the charger, you know where it is. When you're finished with it, you plug it in on the charger, you know where it is. When you're finished with it, you plug it in on the charger.
Stop it! It's like when I was a kid and I would tell my mom, Mom, I've lost something. First reaction would be, well, where did you put it? And I was always like, if I knew that, then I probably wouldn't say that I've lost it, would I? Right? Or she would just ask, where? Where did you lose it? I don't know.
Okay. Thank you, Will. Thank you very much for communicating. Will, thank you very much. He's not listening to me at all.
No, he's not listening to you because you're not listening to him.
I spend a lot of time listening to him. I spent much of yesterday listening.
I know,
listening to him,
but you're not listening right now. And he's not listening either, because he's obviously agitated and he's got a problem and he needs to solve it. He
hasn't got the problem. His problem is solved. He's found it.
No, it's not solved. You're not listening to him. Jasmine has it.
Jasmine has it?
Yes, that's his problem. See what I mean? You're not listening?
Take it back.
Why don't you just chill out? Why don't you get a book, mate? Get a book.
The green one that you were reading. Or try to swap it for a different tablet, Will. Negotiate.
Try not to knock everything over in the process.
Oh, he's very edgy today. They're all very edgy because they've all been ill.
No, that doesn't solve that doesn't solve the problem, because now he's taken.
But she wasn't playing with
Scottia's tablet, and Scotty is annoyed now. Or but she's on edge, as you said.
But Scotty, I was just watching the movie. But you didn't say that, sweetie.
No, but that's obviously going to happen when he runs across the room with her tablet and not his tablet.
They're all extremely edgy and very.
That's not going to solve the problem.
Whiny.
Your suggestion is not going to solve the problem.
Would you like to solve it?
Well, I did have a solution.
That he doesn't get it. That's not a solution for Will, darling. That's not a win-win situation.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you telling me what I'm going to say before I even say anything? Did you just ask and answer the question without me inputting anything into the conversation?
No, I'm talking about your suggestions for William to get a book and read. That's what I'm talking about.
No, you're just jumping in and making up talking about one of the several suggestions that I had to solve the problem. What makes you think that that's the only thing? What makes you think there's only one thing in my head?
Listen.
There's no. I have other ways to solve this, and now you started a fight between the two kids by doing that.
What other ways do you have of solving the problem?
Okay, well this hasn't solved the problem. So, well, I can make a deal with Will.
Sorry?
I can make a deal with Will for something that he wants. I can incentivize him.
Can you?
Yeah. I could have incentivized him to read. I could have delayed his. I could have deferred his gratitude during that.
Deferred his gratitude.
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense. Gratification is the word you're looking for.
Yes. Probably. I can't at this moment define a difference between gratitude.
Gratitude is
being thankful for something, and gratification is getting satisfaction and pleasure. Yes. Okay, right. Okay, got it. Cool. So, yeah, I had a deal planned, and you jumped into the middle of my deal with another idea, which set off another problem. And my deal was to isolate him from the problems connected with his sisters and the tablet. He would not have needed to interact with them or use anything digital.
Can you hear anything?
Did you fart?
No. No. You can't hear anything, can you?
What? Wait a minute.
Well, there's nothing to be heard because nobody's complaining.
There's the hum of technology.
There's the hum of silence. Nobody's complaining, nobody's heard, nobody's arguing,
and everything is fine. There's the potentiality of the neighbours' hammers and drills.
So there is no problem.
There's no problem.
You're right. Scotty had calmed down.
Yes.
Will calmed himself.
Yes.
And
Jasmine is probably going to fall asleep in about 5 minutes.
Is she on the beanbag?
As she does.
She falls asleep when she's on the beanbag.
She does. Is the beanbag here still?
I don't know. I can't.
Because I was dressing it today.
Technology in front of us. What?
I was dressing it.
You were dressing it.
Yes.
You're putting clothes on it.
Yes.
Why?
Just putting the. Well, because it had to be taken off and washed.
I'm leaning in so that I'm not pushing you out the way.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just trying to make sure that we're both in the middle.
Sorry. I just saw myself in the middle.
Creeping in and taking over.
Kind of in the middle of the hair, and I wanted to move to the side, so I moved the opposite direction.
I've done that as well. I've gone like, I need to move it one way.
Yeah, and I was like, why is he in the way all the time? Does he want to be in the center?
Yeah, I get that. I get that a lot, you know. A lot of people say that.
It's a bit crazy.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, parenting. Yes, we are going to talk about parenting today. We've just done a little bit of parenting over there, as you have seen.
Where?
Over there behind the monitors.
Oh, was that?
People couldn't see it; they just heard it. Yes, and I've got some things that I would like to talk about today. You know, because yes, because we talk a lot about peaceful parenting, right, and solving problems and solving situations with kids, and lots of what we talk about is aimed at kids.
I think I overreacted at the beginning because I think they've calmed down.
Just a little bit.
Was that an ego thing? Do you think that was my ego?
Your ego.
Yeah. Do you think my ego has landed?
I don't know what that was. Anyway, well, it did look like there's going to be a problem.
Drink of my juice.
So just a little bit. I don't have any because we ran out of everything. Because I need to go shopping.
Isn't that a really strange phrasal verb? Run out of things.
Yes, it is. It
doesn't make any sense at all.
The Slovak one doesn't make any sense at all either. Slovaks say.
What do they say?
Slovaks would say, "Došla voda," which means the water arrived.
Meaning you don't,
literally,
you don't
but it means that you ran out of water. Right?
That's kind of ironic, yeah.
It's like that the water arrived, but it's not.
Typical.
But they didn't, obviously.
Kind of communist phrasal...
It's like a double speak, right?
Phrasal double speak. Yeah, when something goes horribly, terribly wrong, they have a really positive phrase to describe it, so you can't really complain about it.
Yeah.
It's like the fine in English. Yeah. What's that?
Right.
Oh, I have to give you a fine.
That's fine.
That's fine. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for the fine. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Anyway, I was saying that lot of stuff that we talk about is aimed at children that are, toddlers and up. Basically, kids that have some ability of communication, basically, right? And I thought that maybe we could talk a little bit about the early age, like birth and the first year, right?
The early age.
The early age,
okay.
Because I have made a
surprisingness
connection.
on me, but I can live with that.
I have made a connection that peaceful parenting is basically a extension of attachment parenting, right?
Okay, so
do you know what's attachment parenting?
It's the connection. It's the connection between the parents and the children. It's the connection and the principle as to whether you are connected at the right level, or perhaps too strongly connected, or not connected at all.
Attachment parenting basically is what you do beginning with birth, right?
Okay.
It's a whole philosophy of how to approach your baby, how to build a connection with your baby, and it's based
connection
on
and communication.
Yes, basically, yes, from very early age, because having this tiny little thing in your arms, you can think that it cannot communicate very well yet, but obviously it can, and it's about.
It can communicate when it's hungry.
Yeah. Yes, it can. It's about kind of setting your brain, to connect with your child's brain and be a little bit of a mind reader and learn how to read the signals and how to interpret the crying. And attachment parenting is about being there for the baby at all times, and it basically puts the need of the child for connection, for physical closeness, for example, right? On the same level as the need for food or sleep, right?
Okay.
Because as opposed to attachment parenting, there's a lot of, there's a lot of mums that would go, oh, he's crying, but he's not hungry. He's just crying because he wants me to pick him up. So they don't put it on the same level of importance. They think that, oh, and he's crying that because he's hungry, that's important. But if he just wants me to pick it up, it's not important to fulfill his need because his life doesn't depend on it or whatever. And they just say, so I'm going to leave him, right? Okay. So I'm not going to pick him up because I've got work to do and he's not hungry, so he's going to be okay.
And this is coming from the side of the parent, right? It's not
yes.
The child is doing the same things basically, but the parent is reacting differently. Is that right?
So attachment parenting is basically about putting these priorities, or these needs, on the same level of priorities, right? Okay. Like, kid wants me to pick him up, so he needs me to fulfill his need for closeness, physical closeness. So I'm going to pick him up and I'm going to fulfill that need of his because it's important, because he's crying, because I don't want him to cry, right? Because why should I keep him in distress when I don't have to? Why shouldn't I answer or fulfill his need when he's clearly communicating to me that he needs this need fulfilled? Okay? So yes, attachment parenting. I've got a little note here.
Okay, you got notes.
Yes, attachment parenting actually is based on science, obviously, and it was first introduced by William and Martha Sears in the term of attachment parenting, who based their work on a group of psychologists that explored the attachment and they formed the theory of attachment before them. Okay. One of them was called Bowlby.
Isn't there attachment parenting is or should be, we don't like that word should, but a natural process, right? If parenting is done correctly.
I think the Searses basically based their attachment parenting theory on partially on some kind of, not experiment, observation of some tribes and tribal families and of how they work, right? And that got them, that inspired them to study this further, and that basically led them to the work of Bowlby and other scientists that were talking about the attachment theory, right? Which basically says that child should form a, what he called safe attachment or reliable attachment with his mother. There are different types of attachment, right? There's like an ambiguous, unreliable attachment when a mother reacts to the baby's needs in a inconsistent way, right? Sometimes she does, sometimes she doesn't.
Okay.
And they were doing a lot of experiments with babies and basically observing how they react in each situation, in each type of attachment. And they came up with the results that obviously the babies with the safe attachment were later on in life, you know, more self-confident. They would be, it had a whole lot of positive effects on the kids later on. But basically it was about, you know, the trust, the confidence, the later relationship with the parents, the later relationships with their partners, as we mentioned before, if you remember. So, and the Martha and William Sears basically based their attachment parenting on those findings. So they kind of wrote a book and gave people like a manual, right, of how to make sure that you form the safe attachment with your baby.
Okay. How do you know that your attachment is safe?
That's a very good question. How do you know that your attachment is safe?
Because, I mean, really know, not just think, because obviously a lot of people think they're doing the right thing. Oh, everybody does it. It's normal. Yada, yada, yada. So how do you know that you're forming the right kind of attachment?
For example, your child is not avoidant. Okay. They don't display avoidant behavior.
Okay. Would that be relevant to what I observed yesterday about the student comes home from school and the parent says, how was your day? And they basically say, kind of nothing happened, and they go to their room or whatever. And so you know, I was talking with this student about this situation and their reaction and to their parents' question, which is a normal question and relatively normal reaction, but you know, why do you say that? You know, why do you say nothing? Why don't you why don't you input a little bit more information? Why is your mother asking that question? Why is your mother asking that question? Well, she's asking that question because she wants to know if everything is all right for you. She wants to know if everything is okay. She's not asking that question to be invasive. She's asking that question because she needs the confirmation that you're okay. And well, then the student says, well, so I just tell her I'm okay and it's okay. I said, well, no, because then you're telling her what she thinks to hear, and that's not being honest. So the most important thing is to be honest in your communication with your mother. Now, would that be an example of some kind of attachment pattern being wrong in the past, or something missing from the relationship? What would be happening? I didn't explain that very well, but I think you get what I mean.
Yes, I know, I understand what you mean, and I don't have the answer to that actually, because I don't know anything more about the relationship between the child and the mother. You know, it could be just that he didn't want to, you know, talk about anything at that point in time, but maybe if he has a serious problem, he would go to the mother and tell her about it, right? I don't know. But attachment problems can result in a whole list of personality disorders, right? I mean, it's
well, if your basic relationships, if there are problems in your basic relationships, there will be problems in all of your relationships, because you can't have different standards for different kinds of relationships. Otherwise, that means you end up with a schizophrenic personality.
Exactly, you're going to copy it. You're going to copy it, right? I mean, it just look. I'm a very empathetic person.
Okay.
And if I imagine that kid, a baby, a tiny little baby that doesn't have a consciousness fully developed, that's basically feeling or how do you say, perceiving the world through his body, right? Through all his physical functions and everything. If I imagine that, I would leave that tiny little 2-month-old baby crying in the crib because I say, oh, he's just asking for attention. You know, it's wrong. It's wrong. I think so. That's why I think that attachment parenting is connected to peaceful parenting. It's basically a natural extension of attachment parenting because it's based on empathy, right? And it's based on the connection. The connection is being the most important thing. So how do you work with attachment parenting, right?
You're asking me.
How do you do that? No, that's just a rhetoric question because I'm talking. I'm talking here, people.
Okay.
So what you do is first you're responsive, right? Okay. You respond to your child's needs, which can be extremely, I would say, time-consuming, but everything-consuming basically, because you have to be there for
all consuming
because you're there for the baby all the time, 24/7. You remember when Zora was a little baby and I told you that I didn't have a shower for 3 days because you can't shower with a baby in your arms, right?
Okay.
Well, I can because that'd be cold. Anyway, so it's really all consuming, okay? But there are ways that can make it easier.
The all-consuming problems of motherhood.
Yes.
That's a great book title.
There you go. Breastfeeding is one thing that is, you know, you can do attachment parenting even if you cannot breastfeed, but breastfeeding is a big tool to build connection between the mother and the child, right?
Okay.
Because of all the hormones that are at work while it's going on. What else? Skin-on-skin contact. You know, even if you're not breastfeeding, you can still hold your baby on your skin. Then you've got the co-sleeping, right? That we do with kids, even when they're not babies anymore. Which is, I have actually read that while co-sleeping, the hearts harmonize their rhythms. You know, I don't know if that
would make some kind of sense, because obviously there's something happening within the environment there.
Co-sleeping, for example, in my own experience,
as a mother,
helped me to find out that my kids were ill early enough, you know, before they even woke up, because I was woken up by the fact that they were too hot. You know, I thought I was touching them with my body. They were too hot.
Scotty was burning up yesterday.
Yeah.
She wanted me to cuddle her in bed.
I know. She had a fever.
It was crazy.
Yeah. So you kind of wake up feeling, oh my, she's got a fever. Before, you know, if she was sleeping somewhere in the cot in another room, I probably wouldn't have found that out. So it's actually quite safe to do that.
Yeah,
it's like a safety feature.
Well, it's a very good point. It's a very good point that that the bond, the connection. We talked a little bit before about the biology, the hormones, the interaction. There's scientific evidence that DNA acts as a transmitter, much like a radio transmitter, and that minute fragmentary particles can transfer between bodies when people sleep together. That there's some kind of DNA transfer that goes on. Scientists are not exactly sure how it all works, but they've I don't know how they managed to find people to do the study with, but I guess they checked people's DNA structures and their body makeup, and they then, after a period of time sleeping together, they checked it again and discovered that there'd been a crossover.
Okay.
There that happened. Which
and you sure they just slept, right?
I didn't read anymore, and I'm sure there are certain magazines that go into more detail about those things, but I don't read those either. So
anyway,
I guess other people don't read them.
You can skin-on-skin contact is really good for when a kid has a fever, for example. You know, because it not only harmonizes the hearts, obviously, but you know, if you take a baby sling or what you call the wrap thing, you know, the big piece of cloth that you wrap your baby around.
Not an actual sling that you that you swing around.
Boomerang. No. The cloth that you use for wrapping your baby. If you take the clothes off your baby, take the clothes off yourself, the upper body, and you wrap your baby, you know, onto your chest.
Physically, not like
you
50 Cent.
It lowers their temperature when they've got a fever, you know. It's kind of, as you said, exchange of energies, exchange of temperature. So
that's pretty cool to know. That's pretty cool to know. I like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, there we go. What else? Baby, it's also about recognizing, because you do attachment parenting until, I don't know, maybe the age of 1.5, and then it kind of, you know, naturally goes into peaceful parenting, basically. Because the child around the age of one around the age of 1 actually starts to realize that he's a separate person, that he has, or they have, she has, whatever, their own will and their own ideas, and they want to try their own ideas, and they want to do their own thing. So that's when the screaming starts, and that can be.
What age is that?
Around 1 year old. Around 1 year old.
1 year old.
Yeah, you recognize it when your child screams for the first time. Like Jasmine she would just go, ah! She does that thing still, but she started around 1 year of age, and it's like the more kids we have, the higher the decibels go, you know, the louder they get.
So is there an attachment problem? Is the sign that Jazz communicates a lot through I don't know how to describe it, being loud, maybe screaming sometimes? Is that a sign of an attachment problem?
No, I don't think so. I think that's just the way she communicates, because even though she's becoming really, really good with verbs, she's only 2.5 years old, and her screaming is more like she can't verbalize, her emotions.
She's over there eating the hair grip. Okay.
It's when her emotions get the best of her, right? And she needs to express herself.
Get the best of me sometimes as well.
I know. She doesn't, in the heat of the moment, she can't express herself verbally, because it still requires a lot of, you know, thinking when she needs to say something. So first thing she does is she screams. It's just natural communication form, right? Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. So yes, what else did I write in my notes? There's a lot of notes.
Well, I was maybe I can segue this into an article that was on the AHA parenting blog this week.
Oh, I still wanted to make one point about how to make things easier when you do attachment parenting, right? Because you basically have your kid all the time with you, okay?
So are you saying that it's good for parents to have as much contact with their children as possible?
Yes, and the best thing is to be responsive to children's needs, whatever they are, right? Even if it's just for picking them up. You're not going to spoil them. You're not going to teach them that you know, that they are going to be picked up all the time until they're 7 years old.
Right.
it's not spoiling the kids. The kids is not manipulating you into anything. It just expresses its primal need for safety and for physical closeness, and you need to fulfill this need just like you need to fulfill any other needs. And I wanted to point out just shortly, just few things that you can do to make it easier. First thing, obviously, is to get a baby wrap or a baby carrier.
Welcome to Practical Parenting Presentations with Janka. She's doing this all by herself today. It's great. No, I'm very much enjoying listening, and I am learning a lot.
Yes. So when Zora was a little baby, I had to have her in my arms all the time, and my wonderful sister-in-law, almost-in-law, sister-outlaw, sent me a baby carrier when Zora was about 1 month old. And she brought it to me, actually, because they came to visit for Christmas back then. And she brought me manduka, and that was like, yeah, I've got my hands back. So
the manduka's the wrap thing.
Yes, yes. It was it wasn't a wrap. It was a baby carrier, which you kind of you do up at the back.
Okay, sorry. It's more sophisticated.
It's more sophisticated. It's also faster.
It's like a backwards rucksack.
Exactly, for babies. Right. So you have to make sure that
open it up and throw the baby in.
You don't just get any old carrier. You have to make sure that it's ergonomically, done so that the baby's in the right position. You have to Google that.
Okay. The legs have to hang down in the right way. Yeah?
Yes. Well, the legs should not hang down at all. Actually, the legs should be like in a. I'm gonna get up a bit. When you've got the baby on, then the butt should be right here, right? A bit lower, but you wouldn't see what I'm doing. And the legs should go up and then down, right? The knees should be higher than the butt. Because if they're not in that position, then you are hurting the hips, the hip joints. It's not good for the joints.
The baby's hips or your hips?
His hips.
The baby's hips.
Baby's hips, yes. Okay. Baby's hips, baby's spine. So when you do it in the right way, when you get the right kind of carrier, it's great. It's just you get your hands back, okay? Yeah. Well,
you want the body to have an active experience, though, right? I mean, you don't want to carry the baby around all the time, because then the body's not developing and growing in the strength and the muscles in the way that it needs to.
You strengthen the muscles of the baby while the baby is in the alert, awake and alert. Now, a newborn baby is sleeps around 20 hours a day, right?
Wish I could do that.
Yes. And mums of little newborn babies know that when the baby wakes up, when the baby is fed, they don't have any problems or whatever, there is a tiny little window of time, maybe sometimes it's 15 minutes, okay? Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. When the baby is alert and wakeful, and they're not crying, and their needs are all met, and you're looking at the baby, and you're making faces, and you're trying to make it laugh, that's the time when the baby is moving, and, exercises their muscles, and you can put the baby on the belly, and see how they lift their head, and do all that stuff. But when the baby is tired, sleeping, or just needs a cuddle, or just needs you to carry them around, you use the wrap, right?
Okay.
Second
so
thing
the baby can sleep in the carrier?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So because you've got the right kind of carrier, so they're in the right position, right? For little babies, it's a rounded back. They have kind of like a rounded back, and the knees and the legs are in the M position.
And it's okay for
letter M.
It's okay for men to do this as well, right?
Absolutely,
yeah,
yes.
It's not just the women.
It's good for the men to do this, yes. Yes, absolutely, because the baby is building a connection with the daddy as well. It is absolutely natural if the baby prefers his mother at the beginning or whatever, because
it's more practical as well.
Yes, because of the milk and because of all the everything that went on at birth, basically, right? The bonding at birth. And anyway, other things that you can do. Take the baby with you, right? Even when they're in their wakeful, alert state, when they're a little bit older and they don't want to be carried all the time, but they want you to be there, they're asking for your attention, you can take them with you to wherever you need, put them down.
Can you exercise with the baby like that? If you're like wearing that mandoka, yeah?
I did that on a bike. I did that on the stationary bike.
So you're on stationary bike.
I would put manduka on, and I was kind of biking on the stationary bike. It's not really practical, though, you know, because you have to make it kind of carefully, and you can't really get full into it.
It's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing. It's a little bit of movement. Yeah, but it's much better to go for walks.
Okay.
Because you shouldn't be exercising right after birth anyway, right?
Yeah, you should
for the first 2 months, you should be like
2 months. I thought it was one month.
Well, it's 6 weeks, but I would
okay.
You know, it's go walking. Walking is best. You know, and you get a lot of walking. Anyhow, so
move.
Yes. So you can buy those. You know, if you have tiles in your kitchen, you can buy those like foamy plastic big puzzles and put them on the floor like we had in the old flat, so that the baby's not cold. You can put the baby down and she can explore things, you know, when they're a little bit older, or whatever. Don't put your baby in the baby bouncers or those seats where you put your baby in the seat and it's got little wheels around it and they kind of walk around, right? That's very bad for the child's spine, both of those. Basically anything, if the child cannot...
What's the bad thing for the child? What's that?
The bouncer, basically putting them in an upright position.
Oh, so the one with the wheels.
First of all, the one with the wheels where you sit them in the middle. And they basically move their little legs. And, you know, when they can't walk yet, okay? A baby can't walk yet. She's 6 months old.
Yeah, she's got that thing with, like, the frame that you put them in.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's called a spider in Slovak. I don't know what it's called. What it's called. Anyway.
Baby walker thing.
Yes. Anything that keeps the baby in an upright position while they're not ready for that position yet, because they cannot naturally get up and walk yet, right?
Okay.
They don't have the muscles that run down their back. They don't have the core muscles fully developed yet. That's why they cannot stand up by themselves, because those muscles are not developed yet. And if you put them in that position and even, you know, start bouncing them, because they've got those, it's like a baby nappy kind of thing hanging on 2 strings, right? It's like a little baby bungee that you put in the middle of the doorway, and it's really not good. It's not good. Don't do that. It's better to just either put the baby in the carrier or put the baby down on the floor somewhere comfy and just let them do their own thing, right?
Okay.
And also a third thing is, you can gently, at a certain point, probably when baby starts like sitting by themselves, again, you have to let the baby sit up by themselves. You don't put the baby up and sit them down and prop them around with cushions and hope that they won't tip over, right? So that's not good for their spine either. But once they start sitting up by themselves, they usually do that from the position on all 4, then you can teach the kid to be by himself, to play by himself, right? There's nothing wrong with that. It's good. It builds the, you know, independence and everything, but you don't do it by leaving him something to cry and hope that they will cry it out, okay? You do it by starting with them, engaging in the play, and then you say to the kid, I'm going to leave for 5 minutes, and you leave for 5 minutes. If they start crying for you in half a minute, you come back and you play on, right? And when you do this long enough, he's going to find out that he can do the activity by himself or by herself longer and longer, basically. So this is how you can kind of train them to be a little bit more self-sufficient. If you want them to be a little bit more self-sufficient. That's what worked for me with Will, for example.
Yes, self-sufficiency is, I think, is one of the goals of practical.
But again, self-sufficiency, self-sufficient basically stems out of self-confidence, right? And self-confidence is based on a feeling of safety, right? So you have to provide that, and through attachment parenting, and then later on through peaceful parenting, that's what you do. You provide the feeling of safety so that the child can kind of start reaching out into the world later with enough self-confidence, and because the safety becomes his own mental safety, right? His own. If he doesn't feel threatened, if he doesn't learn how to feel threatened from early age, he's not going to feel threatened for no obvious reasons later on. So he'll be more self-confident. I mean, you can see it with Will, Zora, and Jasmine, right? Zora and Jasmine have no problem with their self-confidence whatsoever. They're like, you know, they're out there. They go, they try things, they do things. Will is a bit more cautious.
Yeah, well, why is that?
Well, because I didn't discover attachment parenting until he was about 1.5 years. Okay? So the first, I did all the mistakes in the first year. Okay? I mean, the birth.
Is there a charger somewhere else for that?
Well, can we help you?
Yes, there's a charger behind the sofa.
Yeah, on the back of the sofa. You can see it. It was right next to where you're sitting.
So, you know, the birth didn't go, there was no bonding at birth. I first breastfed him when, God, like maybe about 10 hours after birth, right?
Okay.
We didn't breastfeed much because we had physical problems. He wouldn't latch, right? I had this horrible book, they should find all of those books and burn them. It was called Baby Wise. My sister gave it to me. Thank you.
I remember a book with that title.
It's a horrible, horrible book. They should burn them all, okay? It's the opposite of attachment parenting. It teaches you that it's good for babies to cry in their beds, okay?
What?
It teaches you that it's good for babies to cry in their beds.
And what is the reasoning behind that?
Oh, because they will learn how to soothe themselves.
Because they know what they're doing, right?
Well, no. I mean, yes, they will learn how to soothe themselves, but they shouldn't have to, right? It's going to leave them hurt psychologically, because no baby should have to learn how to soothe themselves. That's what the mothers are there for, right? You cannot build a relationship on the feeling of abandonment, right? And that's basically what they were doing. So that's a bad book.
A bad book. What's the name of the bad book?
Baby Wise. I think it's a series of books. I think they've covered like all of the baby's life areas. Unfortunately. So don't be baby wise. It's not a good idea. It's not a good idea.
Okay, that's
so
cool.
Yeah, that's all. That's the end of my
you have to keep talking about it, because there's all lots of technical stuff happening in the background that you don't want to know about.
Okay. No, I don't want to know about it.
I know you want to know.
Thank you for not telling me.
So I'm not going to tell you.
Nobody's going to hear what I was saying, are they? Everybody, it's just nobody's problem. This is all going to get lost.
Well, the great thing is that we can bring it back.
Good.
The great thing is that we can bring it back.
I'll take that as a yes then.
At any point in time.
Anyway, if anybody's out there and listening, yes. What else could I say?
The world is against me today. Every article that I wanted to look at will not open. Every website that I wanted to look at will not open. Every single page is crashing down in the background. But I'll try to. I'm trying to work my way through it. But you know what I was thinking? We can just hammer out of the way the neighbors. No.
The neighbors have been pretty quiet.
Don't tempt fate. Right? Don't tempt fate. The reason why the neighbors are quiet is because you very politely went and asked them to give us a little bit of space. Right?
And they were very polite as well. They looked. The guy that I talked to looked troubled, actually.
He looked troubled. He was probably shit scared of you. He
came to me, and first thing he said, even before saying hello, first thing he said from like 5 meters away.
I'm really sorry about
he was walking to me. Yes, he was like, "Oh, we're disturbing you, aren't we?" Like,
well, you know why? Because I imagine that every self-respecting person, and I want to emphasize self-respecting. Okay.
Okay.
Every self-respecting person understands the value of time and space and peace.
Yes.
Yeah, and every self-respecting person in this area is going to go down there and is going to say, Excuse me.
Yes, I know.
Could you let me know what your schedule is for making as much noise as possible, ripping the walls down, drilling through things?
Yeah, he told me that they're trying to do as little of it as possible during the weekends. And
great! So we can have more during the week. That's Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, because people are usually gone during the week. Not everybody works from home, right? Anyhow, and he said that
the nature of the world that we live in, isn't it?
It is. He said that there was somebody else talking to him. Obviously, he said that he promised to somebody else in the block of flats that they would be a bit more quiet in the early afternoon between 1 and 3 because they had a baby that needed to sleep during that time. It's probably the people who live next to us.
Vogue.
They have a baby. There's a lot of babies.
Let your body move to the music. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, this block of flats is full of families, so I imagine everybody's slightly pissed off.
Yeah, I like the note on the door that says, "Don't worry, we'll only be making noise for 3 months."
Yes.
It's 3 months of my life.
Only until the end of November.
Is it the end? I thought it was the middle of November.
I don't know.
You tell me it's the end of November.
I might be the middle. I just saw the word November.
Who's moving in? Father Christmas. My God.
Yeah.
So.
Babies. Yeah. Yes, babies.
That was very nice. That was very, very nice. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back and I'm going to listen to everything you said again, because I'm not sure that I took all of it in. I think it's all really important, and I think that's one of the skills that is really important. I don't think we get everything when we listen once. I think we. And
the great thing I wanted to say about babies and about attachment parenting, you know, and about baby wearing and breastfeeding and everything is that it's so practical, right?
Baby what?
Baby wearing your baby.
You mean like?
Yes. It's called baby wearing.
like a fashion accessory.
Like leggings
or something.
No.
Okay. You wear a baby on its leg.
That is really practical, and when you have older children, you can, continue in your peaceful parenting endeavors while doing the attachment parenting naturally, because when you have the baby in the sling or whatever, you can do everything with your older kids, which is really helpful. When I had little Zora, or when I had little Jasmine, doesn't matter, any of them, I would always adapt or adjust the baby's routine to the older kids. Okay, because first of all, I didn't want the older kids to feel kind of pushed away or put on the side or whatever. I didn't want their routines to change too much because of the little baby. And secondly, because it was so easy and so practical, because the baby doesn't have to sleep in the cot. It doesn't. They don't need to nap at home. They can nap in your baby carrier while you're doing things with the older kids. And we would go out and we would go to the kids centers that we used to go to and play areas, and the kids would play, and I would breastfeed the baby, put the baby back in the carrier, or if she needed to stretch her legs, I would just put her on the bench and make sure she wouldn't fall down, and just let her stretch her legs a little bit and interact a little while the other two kids were playing. So it was really cool. It was cool. If you breastfeed, you don't have to carry around bottles, and you don't need hot water and blah 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 blah. So
cheaper.
Cheaper
as well.
Well, I don't know. I quite a expensive appetite while I was breastfeeding. I used to eat like a
horse
person who eats a lot.
Rhinoceros, perhaps.
Yes. So.
Okay. Yes. Well, what is attachment pairing? Attachment pairing. Now I'm pairing the mother and the baby together, right?
Yes. That's kind of what it is.
Attachment pairing, yes. Parenting, right. There you go. I never made that connection. Wow, okay. I always thought it was pay rent. Anyway, parenting. Well, what you're trying to foster there, what you're trying to
well, the main goal is to create the safe attachment. The main goal is to reliably fulfill your child's needs. Okay? when you reliably fulfill your child's needs, and then you just continue, right? You don't stop. You don't stop when they get like 1 year or a year and a half or whatever. You just continue in peaceful parenting, and this is what we're teaching people. Basically, when we talk about, you know, how to handle a situation, how to handle a meltdown, or what to do in this situation, is we are basically teaching people how to recognize the hidden need behind the behavior and how to fulfill it, or how to help the child to fulfill it, right? Or how to teach them how they can fulfill it themselves, maybe, right?
What you really want to do is model, right? You want to model positive emotional states. You want to model positive activities through your attachment. You want your baby not only to attach, you know, emotionally to you, but you want your baby to attach habitually to the positive habits.
Let's just say that if you want the child to trust you and to trust anybody else later on in life, right? To be able to build strong relationships based on trust. You have to be worthy. You have to be trustworthy, right? And they will learn to trust you if you fulfill their needs. If they know that my mother will be there when I need the mother to be there, right? And as I said, it's not about food. It's not about whether the baby is warm or cold. It's also about the emotional needs.
So where's the father in all of this then?
Right.
No, let's cut to the chase.
I was focusing on mothers because lots of the time I get mothers are the ones that are asking the questions, right? Because usually the father is somewhere out working, sometimes even for weeks, okay? Or and when mother is left by herself with kids, she feels overwhelmed. She doesn't get any break, and she needs some tricks or some tips, or you know, how to get anything done, or you know, they need to know about the baby wearing, for example, right? Now, where's the father in this? The father in this is, first of all, it has to be a support for the mother, okay? Because, as I said, attachment parenting is...
Anything you say, darling.
Attachment parenting is extremely all-consuming, as we said, and the mother needs support through this. That means that, you know, the father is there to watch the baby, to hold the baby, to take care of the baby when mother needs to have a shower, or when mother needs to do whatever else, right? Father is there to... The father should build a connection with the child as well, in the same way that mother does, apart from breastfeeding, obviously, because you want the child to trust their father as well, right? So whether it's a mother or a father responding to the basic need basically shouldn't matter that much, okay? So if the baby is crying and the father is there because the baby wants to be picked up and held, then it's perfectly fine if the father takes the baby, puts her in a baby carrier or whatever, and carries her around. It's good. It's good for the baby, right? It's good to build attachment to two people. There's usually according to Bowlby, right, there's usually a primary person. Okay. But obviously baby can and does build a safe attachment to both parents if both parents are basically responding to their needs, right?
So are you saying the father should do the same things as the mother, with the exception of breastfeeding?
Well, they obviously won't do it in the same, you know, if the father has to work and the mother is with the baby at home, they obviously won't be doing it to the same extent, right? But for example, co-sleeping, when the baby is sleeping together with the mother and the father, that's a good tool of building a connection. with both parents, right? Or baby wearing, or just when the baby's crying, just
so
picking
you think
them up.
like maybe when the father comes home from work, right? The father would, you know, to connect with the baby, would put on the.
If it's possible, if the father has the energy, if he, you know, doesn't come home from work at like 12 o'clock at midnight or whatever.
Some experience of that, perhaps?
Yes, because there's a lot of fathers that work, you know, 6 to 2 or whatever, and they come back home at 3 o'clock, so they can sit down and have lunch and relax for a half an hour if they need to, and then they can just go and help the mother, you know, let her relax a little bit. Because I have to say that the relax factor.
Jazzy's doing press-ups. Don't play with the cables, darling.
She's doing yoga.
She's doing press-ups in the background.
Super cool, Jazzy. I thought she was doing an upward dog, and then the.
I've disturbed her by saying that. I should have just left her. Yep. Parenting mistakes.
Anyway.
Sometimes hands off and step back.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say is that
I've done it now.
I'm not just saying that a mother should be kept all well and relaxed and everything at all times because I'm a woman, right? And I would really like that. I'm saying it because first of all, it's good for the kids because they just the way that they pick up your body temperature and your heart rate, they pick up your emotions, right? They were connected to you hormonally. Through bloodstream, right, for 9 months. So they can pick it up, right? They feel it. I mean, the baby can feel that my heart rate goes up and I start sweating and I raise my voice and whatever. So when you're agitated, they're agitated. Second, sleep equals milk production.
Okay.
If you don't sleep, you don't have enough milk.
Okay.
So you have to make sure that you sleep. At least as much as you know it's possible. Co-sleeping is great for this because when mother and the baby sleep together, the baby often feeds in the sleep, and you can just, you can not back off straight away. You don't have to sit somewhere near the crib and hold the bottle and count the minutes or whatever, right? So you get better quality sleep if you co-sleep with your baby. So that's great. And yes, milk production is also...
Except when you get kicked in the head during co-sleeping.
There you go.
Yes.
But you don't when the baby's
Please don't
tiny.
kick me in the head.
And milk production also rises when you do the skin on skin or baby wearing. Okay. So that's also that's another one of those the positives, because just the contact, that's crazy, right? But the actual contact of the baby with the mother causes changes in the hormones, right? The hormones start, the prolactin starts going, and the oxytocin, which is the hormone of love, they say, of connection.
Isn't that what psychologists prescribe to their patients to make them feel better?
I don't know. I don't know, but if you think of the fact that just picking up the baby and holding them causes all those changes in your body, right? It's crazy. It's crazy.
It is. It is a little bit.
So a lot of mothers stop breastfeeding because they would say I ran out of milk. Well, you won't run out of milk if you attachment parent.
Yeah, because you're sending messages to yourself that the baby's still there and the baby needs something. Right?
Also, another thing is feeding on demand, right? Big mistake is listening to the hospital nurses, because in Slovakia the hospital nurses tell you, only feed every 3 hours for 15 minutes. And your baby thinks are you crazy? If the babies could talk, right, and heard this, they would go are you crazy?
Timetable babies' activities. That's
I breastfed Zora for 45 minutes at a time, about every 2 hours, right?
Okay.
So that would be almost half of my day spent breastfeeding.
Right.
Because I breastfed her on demand, and breastfeeding is not just feeding, right? It's not just about the food, it's about the connection as well. So a lot of mothers stop breastfeeding around the age of, I don't know, 1, because they say, oh, but it's not about hunger anymore. He just wants my nipple, right, in their mouth. He just wants to suck my nipple. It's like a pacifier for them, and it's not about food anymore. Well, no, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't, or not shouldn't, but that you can't provide that comfort for the baby, right? If it makes you like, yeah, I really don't want to do that anymore, then finish it gently.
Okay.
But if you're okay, there is no reason why you shouldn't provide that comfort for the baby if that's what they want.
And I think if babies could speak, they would say that they want that comfort and that care.
Yes. Lots of mothers who do attachment parenting wait until the children wean themselves of breastfeeding.
Okay.
And that happens sometimes at the age of 2, but more likely around the age of 3, even 4.
Yeah, there's that borderline limit where I've seen newspaper articles with the crazy parents, because you never get any normal article in the newspaper,
of course
right?
not.
I mean, it's all the crazies, right? And it's like I'm 5 and I'm very happy to still breastfeed my son, and you know, someone's 5 looking like he's about 12.
You know, funny that you say that, because there was a big controversy, I think it was in 2012, about the magazine, what was it, the Life, or the whatever it was called, the big magazine, right?
Just repairing the damage.
Big American magazine, putting a mother with a 4-year-old at the front page, and the 4-year-old would be like standing on a step stool and drinking
I'm
from
listening. The cables have
right?
decided to run off the table down here all by themselves.
And they would all be like fully dressed, and there would be like this business-like woman, and this baby would just be drinking from her nipple, right? Standing on a stool. And it was a cover picture basically to an article that was against attachment parenting. Basically, I haven't read it, okay? I haven't read it, but I have read about it. And they said that it basically stated that attachment parenting... Oh, she needs to pee.
Okay. Hold that thought, and I will filibuster. Wait, you don't run away with the cables, darling.
Come on.
Please. See. Right. Men, it's like men were born with cables attached to them. They get it, right? Women, on the other hand, were not, and so they don't. And so that's why men come from Mars and women come from Venus. Or is it the other way around? I don't know. So, practical parenting. What can I say about practical parenting? I think it was all attachment parenting today. Janka brought up some really, really interesting points about the need for close contact between babies and their mothers. And what's important to me as a father is that exactly the same principles are required from the father. You need to develop very close connections, very close contacts with your children, especially at a very young age, because you need to develop good habits early on, and the good habits that you develop early on will return later. They'll come back to you later on in life, and especially with kids. If you could see what I could see running around in the background over there. Anyway, I think it's an interesting point about the timetabling with children. You can't expect children's lives to run like buses or trains or planes on a schedule or a timetable. You really have to give them the freedom that they need to have the experiences that they need when they need them. Remember, the children's world is not like the adults' world. Children don't really have a greater concept of time until they're maybe maybe the first concepts come around 5, but maybe till they're 8 or 9 they don't really have a greater concept of time. So trying to run their schedule on a timetable. Timetables work for adults, but they don't work very well for kids. Kids work on what I would call interest levels. So when their interest is stimulated, then it's time to do something with them. It's time to work with them. So.
What was I talking about?
Welcome back to the Partner in Crime.
Oh, the article.
Yes.
Time magazine, I think it was.
Something about.
Yeah, it was basically against attachment parenting, and it was taking it from the like a feminist point of view, right? It was like, oh, it's giving mothers a.
Because feminists are great family people.
What you call it? Bad conscience? Bad consciousness? No, you know, when you feel guilty. It said that it made mothers feel guilty about not being enough if they have to, you know, if they want normal life, right? They basically pointed out the fact that attachment parenting is based on the model of mother being at home with children and father making money. Okay, in a traditional family, in a world where the traditional family is disappearing very slowly. Right.
It's like 1% per year, but it's getting that way.
Yes.
Right.
So it's like, oh, and if mothers can't do it, you know, it's very demanding, and if mothers can do it, they're just going to feel guilty about it, and yada yada yada. So it's basically a communist kind of article. You know, it's like not everybody can do it, so stop making other mothers feeling guilty about it. It's not.
Leave it to the professionals. You know? Leave it to the professionals. That doesn't even work sometimes when you've got a blocked drain that you need to get fixed, right? So,
well, you can't look at it that way, right? Because you could say that about anything.
Okay, you could take your responsibility seriously. That's what I want to say. As a parent, take your responsibility seriously.
Yes.
It's not something to be left lightly. And you know, I was reading a story on the internet the other day about a mother whose partner was no longer around. I don't mean dead. I mean they just went away. And I was just thinking.
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's a great point as well. It doesn't, you know, if you're not there, you're not there. It doesn't matter where you are if you're not there. As long as you're not there, that's the key point. Yeah. And I was just thinking, how can you not be there for your kids, right? How can you not be there, physically for your kids each day, right?
It has to be. It has to be so bad. The relationship has to be so bad that you would sacrifice that, right? I don't know. It's crazy. Anyway, I wanted to say about. Just in connection with what I said before, is that there's a lot of
stand on one leg.
Yes, there's a lot of mothers that need to send their kids to care, for example, right? Because according to Bowlby, which was Bowlby's one of those. There was a lot of them, but that's just the name that I remember. Okay. One was one of the psychologists that came up with the attachment theory. Okay. And according to him, the child should have reliable attachment forming, you know, with like a primary caregiver being there at all times, right? Up to about ages 3 or 4. Okay. Yeah, and that's when you can start, basically institutionalize the child if you need to.
Phrases that set me off. Okay. Primary caregiver.
Yes, well, meaning either mother or a father or an adoptive parent.
But when you stop using mother, father, or foster parent or adopted parent, and you start using primary caregiver, that's just a personal thing.
Yes, I'm saying it because clinical. I'm basically quoting him, and he was taking it from. I think that was done in the 70s. I'm not sure, but he was looking at it from the scientist's perspective. Okay, he was probably studying kids' homes as well. Okay, so that's why he would probably choose to use a neutral term like that. But okay, child in your normal traditional family, or even in a single parent family, doesn't matter. His mother or his father or both of them, but usually just one of them, should be there reliably until the age of either 3 or 4. I imagine that's individual with each child, when they're ready to branch out into the world. He actually observed that children who were, can I say institutionalized, or does it just sound really weird? Children that went to nursery, basically.
Can you define going to nursery as institutionalized?
I don't know.
Because I thought that was like, it's institutionalized meanings. I think it really means becoming the property of the state.
Oh,
becoming a ward of the state.
I didn't know that. Sorry, that's just my language barrier there.
Okay, so
no.
Who go to nursery school.
Yes, to go to care, basically, to go to nursery. That children who go to nursery before the age of 1 actually end up with a higher risk of developing mental diseases or mental problems later in life, like schizophrenia or depression.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Incredible.
Statistics, okay. So, I don't know what the other factors were there, right? The socio-economical, but that was a connection, direct connection between the age of going to the nursery and the mental health of the children later in life. So it's important. It's totally important.
Cool.
And I wanted to say, if you need to send your child to a nursery or somewhere, first of all, I would probably choose a nanny rather than a nursery, because a nanny can give your child a one-to-one full-on attention if it's a good nanny, right?
Yeah, do a complete background check and get lots of references.
Absolutely,
as well.
Yes. I would choose that very, very carefully. But if you really need to go to work because there's nobody else to feed you, obviously, then obviously it's what you need to do. I would my first choice would be a family member. If that's not possible, a nanny. If that's not possible, a kindergarten or something. But you have to, knowing what you know about attachment parenting, it's not there to make you feel guilty about sending your child to the nursery or, kindergarten or whatever. It's there to tell you what you should do when you are with the child, right? So that you can make up for it. So that, you know what need to be met. You know more about what he could be feeling, what he could be needing, right? So that you can make up for it. It's feeling guilty is, if you do, that's your thing, right? That's your problem. It's not the problem of the theory. It's not the problem of the child. That's what you have to deal with. The attachment parenting is there to make sure that when you can, you do the right thing. Right? Right.
Meanwhile, in the background, things are flying through the air.
Are they? I haven't noticed. I was so engulfed with myself over there in that moment.
You're on fire today once again. Right.
I was actually inspired by one mum who was asking a question about what to do with a 6-month-old when they require constant attention, constant closeness, I would say. Constant
proximity.
Contact. Yes, proximity. Yes.
Okay.
So, because sometimes it's impractical, but that's just the way it is. It's just a season, right? They will stop following you to the toilet around the age of 2. Okay. So for 2 years, you just have to hang in there, right? And just keep the toilet brush out of reach.
Because it's not a lollipop.
Exactly.
That's just gonna
there you go. And get all the support you can. If you
darling,
either you may.
The balloon is shrunk.
Thank you. Shrink. If the man is not there, really employ your sister. If the sister's not there, or parents, then find a friend, socialize. Even if you just do it with the kids, even if you just take the kids out together and have a little chat, it always helps. It's good for the brains.
On Facebook, I can, if I do this carefully, I can replace your head with a balloon. There we go.
Is that an improvement? It's a very chatty balloon.
Oh, right.
Catch!
No, she's gonna.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, right, because it's gonna say okay. Anyway, we should wrap up things.
Okay, I'm sorry I didn't let you talk too much today.
That's okay, because I'll make up for it in the future. Don't worry. Don't worry about that. I will rant and rave about all the ideas I have and all the things I come across. It also gives me time to go and read more articles. A couple of things to finish with that I want to.
Okay, sure thing. Yes, if you can grab it, do it, Rabbit.
There we go.
That's okay. There's nothing important there.
Things are moving. I was thinking, right, and we did this live. Bye.
Yes. You were thinking?
Yeah, I was thinking that we should do like a practical parenting newsletter once a week. Just a little send out to people, not an article, but we should send out, say, we should create a mailing list and send out once a week at the end of the week links to the articles we've talked about and what we've done. Just send out links for people and say, hey, you want to catch up on your parenting ideas?
Oh, that's a good idea, maybe.
Connect with people.
It's a good idea, maybe. I'm saying maybe.
Yes, no,
it is a good idea. It is a good idea. I love it. No, it's absolutely a good idea. I love it. I love the idea. I know it's going to be like a bang my head off the wall kind of, now I have to do this, but
no, I was thinking that. No,
I'm more of a talking person, but yes,
well,
let's do
it. I'll do it, right? I mean, because what happens is I put a lot of the articles onto the Facebook page, and we get through some of them, we don't get through others, and it would be nice just to collect.
You're probably much organized with I would have to look for the articles around.
No, because when I find the article, I put it on my Facebook page or I drop it into my Dropbox. Okay. So at the end of the week, all I got to do is kind of collect it together and send it out.
Oh, that's cool.
And I thought that might be
cool. That's a good idea.
People who can't catch up with us during the week could do that, so I thought
good. Yes, let's do that.
That's the first thing.
If that's what you would like, people.
Do you have to?
Give it to Will. He'll know what to do with it, sweetie. Okay?
Will, can you help your sister with the tablet, please? Right. So that's the first thing. The second thing is. I want to add in a little bit of a different format of things. I want to do, we're going to try very short Facebook casual conversations like we did the other day. Right? We did that little casual conversation.
Oh, in bed.
From the bed. Not always from the bed, but I just thought like a quick 5 minutes or 10 minutes on an idea which is important.
Okay.
Yeah, to try to sort of capture the moment of something, and it's another way of creating content. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that if because life, the universe, and everything happens, and we don't get to do the live stream for 1 hour during a day, we can put out the little 5 or 10 minutes. Yeah,
okay.
And still keep the connection with people.
Maybe stick it on a charger. You've got one hanging next to you.
Yeah.
Well, there should be one in your room as well. It probably just needs charging. Well, go and get a charger
for it. Isn't there a rule that when we're finished with the tablets, they go on the charger?
Yes, there is.
And what happened to that rule? Because we've had problems with this before.
Yes, I know we had. What happened to the rule? I probably did not observe whether it has been connected or not. I probably should be more observant.
Yeah, I know that. I know it's. There was a really good article about a year ago about the modern parent, and I don't agree with what was written. So it was the modern parent needs to ensure that the kids' tablets are always charged, and I just thought that was complete rubbish. That's not the job of a modern parent. The new job of a modern parent is the same job that a parent has had for thousands of years, which is to care for the kids. All of these all of these other things are extras. So I just want you to know that I'm not getting at you when I say
I know
that. Okay,
you're not. Yes. I've also read an interesting article about the mental load and about how that can be just too much.
Too much. No, I agree with that. I mean, I can understand that as well.
Just gave me an inspiration for something. Okay.
Okay, we'll save that for the next time. Say that, or do you want to?
I'm saving it for my 21st Century Mom spelled MUM.com website because I just thought of something for mothers that might help them lower their mental load and maybe be a bit more effective. Okay. Yes.
Right. You can find more information at www.nsa-slovakia.com. It's the Academy of Language Therapy and Life Coaching on Facebook and on YouTube. There's a Pinterest page. There's a big smile on your face.
Maybe we should just call these live videos mental load. That'd be like really funny. No?
That's probably a mother's thing. Okay. Oh no, wait. Metallica have an album entitled Load. Anyway.
We should call it mental overload.
Information overload. That was a Living Colour song. See, I always have to get a song into.
Well.
Sometimes I feel like my mind will explode. Information overload. It's a great song, really.
It's exactly how I sometimes feel.
Yes. Sometimes I feel like my mind will explode. Right. So thank you very much for paying attention to us. We really appreciate it. I'd like to thank the people who are not here for not making noise during the session. And where else? How do we turn all these things off again? How do we shut things down?
Well, we say thank you very much for watching and turn the Facebook off. Okay.
Thank you very much for watching.
Thank you, people on Facebook. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and we will answer them in the next video. Okay, which is hopefully going to happen.
I think we're going to do one tomorrow.
No, because we took 3 days off, so we should really do the weekend, right?
Well, we took 2 days off. No, we missed 2 days because we did a morning and then we missed 2 evenings. So,
yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, it felt like 3 days to me anyway.
Well, it was a real 3 days, but I missed 2 days. So there's truth in that. Okay. So we're going to say bye on Facebook and the podcast now. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Stay cool. I'll just put my hand in front of your face.
That's okay. I'm going to kind of wave like this.
Okay. Bum, bum, bum.
And
we did that one. Right.
Yes. And we should say bye-bye to all the people out there watching the YouTube video.
Okay. Say bye to all the people watching.
We are very happy that you were watching us today, and we hope that we brought some interesting information into your life, or maybe a little bit of inspiration.
A little bit of sunshine on a rainy day.
Googling. It's a really rainy day here today, by the way.
It was. Well, that reminds me. All my wet clothes from my jog are still wet. Still wet. How am I going to dry? We're going to dry them.
When do you need to go jogging again?
Maybe tomorrow. Do you put them in the dryer?
Maybe tomorrow. Dryer's not working.
Is it broken?
Yes, it needs to be cleaned from the inside, I think.
I'm not getting in there.
No, you're not.
No. I've read that Hansel and Gretel story.
You're not going in the dryer. Are you sure?
Yes, I'm definitely sure I'm not going in the dryer.
I don't think you would fit.
Let's have this conversation off camera.
Okay.
I can't find the arrow.
Bye, everybody.
I can't find the arrow to turn it off. Okay.
Then just keep it on.
There we go.
We can just talk about dryer and fluff.